today's video, we are going to treat monopolistic competition. Remember, in the last lecture, we treated puppet competitive firms and the monopoly. So monopolistic competitions, as the name implies, is a combination of puppet competitions and the monopoly. So it's a market that has some features of puppet competitive firm and monopoly. So monopolistic competitions, like I mentioned earlier, comprises some of the features of monopoly in the puppet competitive firm. So it is customary to again refresh our memories by recategorizing the market structure into two. The first one is puppet competitive firm. We have make elaborate discussions about it. Then under puppet competitive firm, we have what is called monopolistic competitive firm, which is a market structure characterized by many sellers selling differentiated products. Also under puppet competitive firm, we have oligopoly. Oligopoly is a market in which we have very few sellers selling identical products, while duopoly is a market whereby there is only two. But in this course, we're going to focus only on monopolistic competition under puppet competitive firm. So what are the attributes of monopolistic competition? First, there are many sellers, products are differentiated, then there is free entry and exit, just like in the case of puppet competitive firm. So in monopolistic competitive firms is a firms whereby there's a lot of sellers selling differentiated products. It is common, any street you go, you find a lot of firms that are producing similar products, but each of the firm is distinguishing its products with branding. You see that they label it maybe my product A, product B, product C, but the product are identical. For instance, CD. There were a lot of firms producing CD, and CD is CD, but each firms try to make branding in order to show that possibly there is variations in the quality, so that anyone that is wanted to buy the CD, once he sees a particular level on it, he may attribute it to maybe firm A or firm B, and he may say that it is better in quality than those produced by other competing firms. So the branding is one of the yardstick by which the firm can use it to attract large customer and control large market share. Again, look at computers. We have similar PC, laptops, mini computers, and so on and so forth, produced by different firms, different company. And each particular firms do distinguish its product by assigning the name, branding, and other unique features which you can easily attribute it to a particular company. And by that, consumers can express their preferences by selecting the firms, by selecting the product of their choice, which may signify high quality, lower price, and so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, monopolistic competition firms, there is large number of firms producing products that is differentiated. Unlike in puppet competitive firm, large number of firms produce homogeneous products. So in this case, it's heterogeneous products. So because of the products differentiation, it is not possible for firms to control large number of markets. Rather, each firm is controlling only small fractions of firms due to competitions. If one firm tends to be stronger than the other, then the others may go for latest technology in order to regain the market power, market influence. For that reason, each firms do have very little influence in the markets, and since they have very little influence for the market, they face downward sloping demand curve, because there is competition. If the prices of one particular product is very high, then customers can run away to other competing products. Possibly the quality might slightly be different. So for that reason, the firm must faces downward sloping demand curve, which reflect to a normal law of demand and supply in relation to price. As the price goes up, then the quantity demanded of a particular product decreases, and vice versa. Similarly, part of the features of monopolistic competition is free entry and exit. Firms will keep on entering the market so far there is economic profit. It will attract new entrants to come in and compete. And new entrants will keep coming until when economic profit completely eliminated. So no any restrictions with respect to legal barriers, with respect to other forms of restrictions that you can think of that can prevent a new entrance into the market. And there is no any restrictions with regard to the firms that wanted to quit the market as a result of not making profits. So economic profit is a yardstick towards attracting the new firms. So new firms keep entering the market until when economic profit is zero. If there is no any economic profit, then new firms will stop coming into the market. And this is part of the thing that do happens in real life. Any new ventures that's said to be very rewarding, you see a lot of people are competing, contesting to participate in such market until when the profits becomes normal or no any economic profits, then the market may likely to stabilize. Then given by this feature, then what determines competition in the short run? In the short run, monopolistic competition firms, there will be in the first, there will be economic profits. If there is economic profit, then new firms will enter the market and face the competitions. As a result of that, there will be increase in the number of product offered in the market. As new firms comes in, then each one produces goods and services that is differentiated, then the total number of goods offered to the market increases. Then going by the law of supply, when there is increase in supply, definitely prices of goods and services will decreases because supply exceeds demand. So in these respects, demand faced by a particular firm will reduce. If, for instance, initially when there were 50 markets, each market is getting, let's say, 30% of market share. When another 50 market comes in, then they have to share that particular percentage, maybe to 15-15. You can see the demand for a particular firms reduces as a result of influx, as a result of new entrants into the markets. So given by this, demand curve shifts to the left, which signifies reductions in the demand for a particular firms. Then demand for the incumbent firms' products fall and their profits declines. As their profit declines, then they will decide if the profits is worth enough to maintain themselves into the market. If it is not, they will think of either quitting the market or temporary shutdown. Let's present it in a diagram. This is demand curve, which is downward sloping. The average total cost that normal market is U-shape, which reflects the law of diminishing return. The marginal curve is upward sloping, similar with the market supply curve. Then As usual, equilibrium is attained at the point where marginal revenue intersects marginal cost. That's a profit maximization output. Then to determine the cost, at that point we go for what at the point of intersection between marginal revenue and the marginal cost, the corresponding point of average total cost. That's the cost of production. Then the price is tangent to what demand curve at that particular point. Then the shaded area represented the profits, which is economic profits. Firm is making economic profits. So if there is economic profit, like I mentioned, new firms do enter, and until when the economic profit is completely zero. So now we're going to represent a market monopolistic competition in the short run, in which where firms are making losses. You can see the profit is below the average cost. Look at the point of intersections between marginal revenue and the marginal cost. Now the price is lower than the total average cost, and the shaded area, which represents total losses incurred by firms in the short run. So firms will enter and exit until when economic profit is exactly zero. If there is zero economic profit, then some firms may possibly exit the market. Let's present it in the diagram. Those firms that are making losses will exit the market, and that will expand the productivity and the demand of the existing firms. And by that implication, when goods and services, when supply decreases, the price do increases with constant demand. So as a result of that, the prices will increases, and up to the point that is tangent to average total cost. In this particular point, the firms are making normal profit or break-even points, break-even profits. So as in monopoly, we notice one thing: price exceeds the marginal costs at profit maximizations, unlike in perfect competitive firm. And the firms experience downward sloping demand curves, and it makes the marginal revenue less than the price. This features almost similar with the one experienced by monopoly. While as in perfect competitive firms, there is free entry and exits into the market, and this drives economic profit to zero. If you can recall, in the perfect competitive firms in the short run, there are three possibilities. One is economic loss, second one is economic profits, and third one is normal profits. If there is economic loss, firms will exit the markets. And on the contrary, if there is economic profits, which are abnormal profits, then competition will drive the economic profit down, because new firms will tend to enter the markets until when economic profit is zero. So these are the common features that were taking some of the features from monopolistic competitions, like I earlier mentioned, while another from perfect competitive firm. So monopolistic competition firm is a combination of what perfect competitive firm and the monopoly. So is there any excess in capacity in the monopolistic competition firm? Yes, there is. In perfect competitive firm, there is no excess in capacity utilizations, as firms produce at the point where the average total cost is lowest. And such points corresponds to the points of equality between good produce and the goods supplies. There's demand and supply at equilibrium at such particular points. There is no deadweight loss, while in monopolistic competition firms, just like in monopoly, firms tend to produce and below their excess capacity and not at the point of intersection between demand and supply. We are going to illustrate it in the subsequent slides. See this? Look at here is a perfect this monopolistic competitive firm. The price, the point of intersection between marginal revenue and marginal cost here, while if the market is to operate as efficient, then it will produce at the lowest point of the average total cost, and the price will relatively be lower. If you draw the line here, it will be lower than the price that is charged by producing point not at the efficient scales of production. While in perfect competitive firm, you can see that the firm produces at the lowest point of average total cost. It's more efficient than monopolistic competitive firm. So what a difference between monopolistic and the perfect competitive firm in terms of the price, in terms of the cost. You can see here the markup between the monopolistic competitive firm as signified by inefficiency of productions and the marginal cost, while in monopolistic competitive firm is more efficient. There is excess capacity in monopolistic competitive firm. So far we can see that monopoly and the monopolistic competition firm, they tend to be inefficient because they were not producing at the efficient level of productions. They do produce less than efficient level in order to supply very limited goods and services so that the price will be above the market competitive price. The essence is just to enable them to make profits. In such scenario, there is idle capacity utilizations and deadweight loss will be eminent. While in monopolistic competition firm, in perfect competitive firm, the firms tend to produce at the lowest point of average total product, and in that respect, they maximize the existing capacity, and they're more efficient than both monopoly and monopolistic competition firms. And remember always, once there is competitions, in the absence of restrictions, then new entry can come in and compete. They come in and contest for that economic profits. And new entry, as more firms, new firms enter, then economic profits will drive down until when it is completely zero. And if it is zero, then the price will be normal. There will be no excess. There will be no abnormal profits in such markets, and some firms may decide to remain in the market while others may run away. And this characterizes the kind of markets that we have in real life situation. So I think if you can know the differences between monopolistic competition and private competitive firms and the monopoly, then you will be in a good picture to analyze the types of market we have in the world. You can easily attribute a types of structure that's manifested in particular markets that is within their surrounding. You can make classification whether this particular firm belongs to private competitive firm or it belongs to monopoly. whereby we have single firms or monopolistic competitions or oligopoly, as the case may be. So this is the end of today's lecture. Hope to see you in another lecture, which will be the last lecture. Thank you. Bye bye.